Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So yesterday the Destroyers deep dive came out and it is time we break that deep dive down because the Destroyer certainly does look impressive visually and to be honest also ability wise definitely got me quite excited as well because there are a lot of fairly cool things that I would absolutely love to mess around with myself. Question is whether the numbers will hold up as always. But barring that, he definitely looks like a very solid addition to the game. So as we can see, he's going to be a Mystic champion that will sport some passive furies, protections, unblockables, energizes, power gain, will require youth intercept, will be exceptionally good against champions who gain buffs themselves, and yeah, has fairly large amount of neat tips and tricks up his sleeve. So the first one is that Destroyer is a killing machine devoid of emotions, is immune to infuriate and intimidate. Also, Destroyer is a magical non-magnetic construct, immune to slow, armor break, poison, and bleed. Additionally, the salve and willpower masteries are disabled. Kind of makes sense. He's more of a robot than anything else. Slightly annoying, but still. Right. So still armor break immunity, poison and bleed immunity, slow immunity, which is quite rare. All attacks destroy any indestructible and immortality buffs on the opponent, replacing them with rubble buffs that last 15 seconds. Now, the thing with rubble buffs is they do absolutely nothing aside from exist as actual buffs that do expire, that do feed Mystic Dispersion, but that's just about it. Other than that, they're no different from Mojo's or Dr. Voodoo's personal buffs. But yeah, so indestructible, immortality is useless against this guy, basically. But it also works only on buffs and not the passives, by the looks of it. When the opponent gains a buff while attacking the Destroyer's block, destroy one of their newest buffs and replace it with rubble as well. So that's going to make him harder to fight against as well with specific champions like Hulkling, for instance. You will never gain any pierces for most part. And obviously that can also be a useful utility offensively, knowing that you can block hits, an opponent will be hindered with their buff gain. So again, willpower does not exist for the guy. Here we can see him completely just shutting down all the indestructibles that Hulkling has. And also, Hulkling is just going to have a hard time with Destroyer. That's pretty much it. Also, when he's dashing forward, he gains a passive unstoppable, which is going to be annoying at times for sure when fighting against him, useful for us when we are trying to get the intercept. So on dashback, he basically has a mighty charge built in. Now, when he does get hit whilst dashing forward, that unstoppable goes on cooldown for 15 seconds. That is going to be the way, I suspect, how we're going to have to try and deal with him. But he's going to be a champion that's relatively hard to intercept by the looks of it. And it's kind of safer to intercept with, right? He also gains protection passives based on the amount of opponent's buffs up to 25%. So up to 5 buffs, 5% each. So he can have 25% protection where he takes significantly less damage, which means he's going to be significantly tankier against buff-heavy champions as defender. I believe it's with his SIG ability where the potency and the total of these effectively doubles up to 50%. So he takes half the damage against buff-heavy champions. And his core mechanic is destruction charges. So gain 2 destruction charges when immunity to armor break triggers. When the opponent gains a buff or fails to trigger a buff due to buff immunity. This has a cooldown of 1.5 seconds. Also gain 5 destruction charges when intercepting the opponent and when punishing a heavier special attack. So you will want to intercept a lot with the Destroyer. Kind of like Absman in a sense, because that is going to be an important part of his ramp up. Lose 1 charge when inflicted with a non-damaging debuff other than stun. So this is his inherent weakness against Science Champions for the most part, because Science Champions inflict a ton of non-damaging debuffs. Every 25 charges gain a Fury passive, granting 2400 attack, rating for 20 seconds. These passives refresh on a special attack 3 or when the opponent's knocked down. So you can maintain all 4 of these Furies perpetually throughout the entire fight once you have ramped up, granting you a grand total of almost 10k extra attack, which obviously is very, very, very significant. And when reaching 100 charges, consume them and gain a power gain passive that grants 4 bars of power over 10 seconds. So this is a massive, massive, massive power gain. While this is active, you cannot gain any more charges. Here we can see his charge being reduced by the non-damaging debuffs. Here we can see how we can refresh them. And that power gain in action is absolutely brutal. Right. So let's carry on. So once you build up your destruction charges, obviously special attack 1 can help you do that. Your special 1 is largely a ramp up special where each attack grants 10 destruction charges on a hit, block, or a whiff. If the opponent dodges the attack with a dexterity mastery or gain dexterity replacement, no charges are gained. As a defender, gain 15 charges instead. This is kind of tricky because if you outrange most of this special, opponent still gets the charges, so you really do need to try and dex as much of it as possible. The final hit is passively unblockable and inflicts an unstacking hinder debuff of 75% potency for 20 seconds. If the opponent is against the wall, all hits are unblockable. Now, what does hinder do? We actually have kind of seen hinder in the game already, just not by that name. We have champions with very, very similar abilities, like the Spider-Man Supreme, where you just reduce the opponent's buff potency by 75%. So opponents' power gains, furies, and whatnot are just significantly less potent if they come in the form of buffs. And that is his main buff control as well, in between him being able to get rid of indestructible charges and buffs whilst being hit in the block. This is it. He doesn't really nullify or neutralize as a Mystic Champion. He just makes them significantly less potent and gains protection for himself. And obviously ramps up quicker as well. And then you have your level 2, which effectively deals a burst of damage. The first hit pauses any degeneration effects for 10 seconds. The destroyer is passively unblockable during the final 3 hits. And the final hit deals a burst of damage, but its potency is increased by 200% against an opponent suffering from degeneration. And the rest of his kit doesn't have any degeneration on basics, heavies, or special 1. In order to access the degeneration, you need to get to level 3, which is one of the things that I kind of dislike about him. It kind of makes sense also because you get to level 3 with that power gain very quickly and then back up to level 2 as well. So that's clear that is going to be his kind of like core rotation. You get your 100 charges, get the power gain, drop a level 3, then use the power gain to get to your level 2 and then do a massive burst of damage. However, it is unfortunately a rotation that does in fact involve a level 3, which inherently comes with its own weaknesses, namely the time delay, specifically when it comes to the battlegrounds, and also needing the largest amount of power, obviously, to get there. Nonetheless, in shorter fights, hopefully he does produce enough damage without needing that level 3 to finish the fights out quickly, which I think is going to be like a crucial part, whether you have to go for that level 3 or not in order to finish out, battlegrounds level fights. Right, so we have special 3 as well, which actually looks quite cool. We're going to see a screenshot of that a bit later, but he absolutely destroys fools. Right, so special 3 inflicts a degeneration passive, dealing 18,000 direct damage over 15 seconds. Gain an unstacking energized passive of 33% potency for 10 seconds. Paused during destroyer special attacks while this passive is active. Special 3 cannot be activated, and specials 1 and 2 grant no power to the opponent. And also gain an unblockable buff for 6 seconds, so it can be more aggressive and straight up get in the opponent's face. And yeah, that's going to be his rotation basically. Intercept a lot, get 100 charges, get that power gain, drop a level 3, drop a level 2, big damage, right? And now his SIG ability. His SIG ability actually is going to be also, in my opinion, incredibly useful, especially defensively, but also offensively. Offensively, it's more of a quality of life type thing, but defensively, it's going to be super important. So Destroyer's personal power gain pauses while at 3 bars of power. While any power gain effect is active, special 3 damage is increased by 50%. So this is going to give you more damage offensively as well as make it easier for you to utilize your power gain fully. The protection passive potency for magically enhanced armor is increased by flat 5% per buff, so it goes up to 50% in total. When struck, inflict an instant rupture, dealing 40% of the damage prevented by personal protection as physical damage to max of 2404 damage. This rupture also destroys an indestructible or immortality buff on the opponent. And this will effectively make him a 2-monk/Electro-esque against any champions with buffs. So obviously that will pretty much mean automatic L or automatic chip damage in a Battlegrounds fight if you use a champion, that has buffs, or if there's any meta that gives, both champions buffs. This is going to be an absolute nightmare to go up against. And that is just about it. That is the Destroyer. And he looks good. There's not much else to say. He looks like he has his defensive tricks in between, like his protection, his specials being unblockable, him obviously eventually gaining charges anyways, and then you having to deal with that power gain. There's plenty of things to kind of worry about. He's going to just shut down some champions generically, especially cosmic ones, or slow them down with protections and then buff nullification. Obviously, there will be other champs who are going to be very dangerous or almost impossible to use against him because of his indestructible removal and him being a Mystic champion. So, definitely extremely badass looking champion that I very much are looking forward to acquiring. Let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about